Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg has died, as I'm sure you guys have heard already. I'm gonna keep it real with you. This doesn't even crack my top 5 most important issues of what's going on in the country right now. I talk about what I think is most important. The over 60 million people who have filed for unemployment since March lost their job, lost their income through no fault of their own as a result of this economic crisis. 40 million people are going to be evicted as soon as Trump's temporary ban on evictions expires, whether it's at the end of the year, if they extend it a month after, 2 months after. They are going to be evicted because they cannot pay the back rent that they owe their landlords. Anywhere from 80 million to 100 million people now have no health care in this country, no health insurance, because either they weren't insured before all this happened, or they lost their job when it happened, or for some people, they might still have their insurance, but they can't afford to pay it because they've lost a lot of income. So they effectively have no health care, they have no health insurance in the middle of a pandemic. 40% of all small businesses in this country are going to close permanently if they haven't already. The wealth inequality in this country has accelerated in a way that I would not have believed was possible if you asked me a year ago. Our entire economy is being radically transformed, where the top 20% of income earners and the biggest corporations have basically consolidated all the wealth, all of the assets in the economy, again, in a way that I would not have believed was possible if you asked me a year ago. The western states in this country have been engulfed in unprecedented wildfires that have been exacerbated by the climate crisis, which continues to get worse. Of course, the raging global pandemic for which we are the epicenter, the worst hit area in the entire world, at least 200,000 people dead. And those are the official numbers. And like I've said from the beginning, the real numbers are very likely multiple times higher than whatever is officially being reported by the government. And the cherry on top is our own government at every level is working against the American people and exacerbating all of these crises that we're dealing with. So you have the crisis of legitimacy in all government institutions right now. Those, for me, remain top priority above a Supreme Court vacancy, especially since the conservatives already have a majority on the court. They've had a majority on the court for my entire lifetime, and them getting another seat on the court does not radically change the power dynamics on the court. And also, the Supreme Court as an institution of itself has been in a crisis of legitimacy, because while our government has been taken over by the rich and by corporations, they've bought the government, they've ended democracy, they've trampled the Constitution the entire time they're doing it. The Supreme Court has provided no pushback. But you talk to some of these normie Democrats, you talk to some of the libs out there, according to them, the death of Ruth Bader Ginsburg is the end of democracy. You have some of the most centrist, neoliberal tools, corporatist tools in the country now suddenly have become radicalized, and they're suggesting taking up arms and burning down government buildings and starting riots and mayhem if the Republicans fill Ruth Bader Ginsburg's seat. And you have people like Neera Tanden and all these centrist establishment in radical position. And like I said on Twitter, go follow me on Twitter at unapologeticYT. It is bizarre, the issue that they prioritize and the issue and where they're willing to draw the line and where they say, you know what, this is it. We cannot let this stand. We cannot allow this. And if that means we have to burn this shit down, so be it. I mean, that's literal quotes from some of these Democratic Party insiders, these centrists. Oh, let's burn it down. Oh, really? Now, they're even more radicalized than I am. And the issue that got them that way is the death of Ruth Bader Ginsburg and the possible replacement by Donald Trump. It isn't the 60 million people unemployed. It isn't the 40 million people who are going to be evicted. It's not the fact that a third of the country doesn't have health care in the middle of a pandemic. It's not the inaction to deal with this unprecedented economic crisis. Oh, no. None of that. It's not the government exacerbating, both parties exacerbating the climate crisis. Nope. All of that they poo-pooed, and it wasn't a big deal to them. But it's the Supreme Court. That's where they draw the line. And I shit you not, I'm seeing some of them literally saying that women's rights to abortion is under threat, which there's an argument to be made that yes, it is. Very real argument to be made. And now abortion rights are the number one issue for this election. Whoa there. I'm a full believer in a woman's right to choose and defending women's reproductive rights and LGBT rights. I'm all with it. But you have lost your goddamn mind if you think that takes precedence over the economic calamity that's going on in this country. I already said 60 million people have no income. 40 million people are going to be evicted. 40% of all small businesses are going to close permanently. All of that is more important than abortion rights. And if that makes me a bad lefty, that makes me a shitty person, I don't care. But that's reality. That's people not being able to stay in their house. That's people not being able to put food on their table for their kids. So yes, that takes precedent over the possibility of abortions being banned in this country for a short period of time. Because that doesn't mean that it's permanently going to have to stay that way. Abortions were illegal for a while in this country. And as there are many negative consequences to that, it is a violation of women's rights. I agree with you there. But abortions being illegal for a short period of time does not equal societal collapse. All those other shit I mentioned before, yeah, that actually kind of equals societal collapse. So that takes precedent over abortion rights. And this is just like the Democrats. The second they can find a social issue and cling to that and talk about nothing else, they're going to leap at the opportunity. They don't want to talk about economics. They don't want to talk about that because they know Joe Biden is not going to do anything to address the economic calamity that we're in. So the first chance they get to harp away on a social issue, they aren't going to miss that train. And like many people have said before, I'm not the first to say it. Once you are in a certain economic status, a certain class in this country, and you don't have any real problems that the government can fix for you, you view politics as this, it's like entertainment for you. It's like a team sport, and you get really invested in just the most ancillary issues because that's what everybody's saying is most important. That's what everybody's saying you should care about. And since you don't have any real problems to add or solutions to advocate for, you just jump on board. And hey, everybody says we need to burn shit down because Ruth Bader Ginsburg died. Let's burn shit down. I mean, I have nothing else to worry about. I have no other problems with the government to fix. So there's that. I think that's hilarious because these are, like I said, the same people who lecture us when we simply say I'm not participating in this fraudulent so-called democracy and electoral system. They say, oh, we're radicals and we're extremists, we're accelerationists, and we aren't thinking clearly. We need to be rational and we need to be pragmatic. These are the same people who are willing to just burn the shit down just because Ruth Bader Ginsburg died and Donald Trump might pick another Supreme Court justice. Okay, now this isn't me saying that the power that the Supreme Court has is not important. And of course, their decisions have huge ramifications when it comes to politics and policy. But this really doesn't radically change things for me. And for different reasons I could get into, but mainly this whole problem becomes moot if the next time Democrats control Congress and the White House, they just expand the Supreme Court and add more seats to the Supreme Court. Then you can have a majority on the Supreme Court. So I feel like people are making this a bigger issue than it has to be. But let's move from that for a second. I could talk about that in another video. One of the most interesting parts of this recent development for me is just watching the Republicans do what they do best. Steamrolling the Democrats, steamrolling the left, and getting whatever the hell they want at any cost, by hook or by crook, they're going to get it. And let me make an important distinction here. I'm not saying that the ends that they use this quality for is good. 100% of the time they do it, they use this quality for nefarious shit, for corrupt reasons and to serve corporate interests and to serve their donors. But it's this just the quality, I'm going to get it. I don't care what anybody says about me. The media can call me a hypocrite. The Democrats can kick it. The opposition, they could kick and scream all they want. But I have power, and I'm going to exercise that power to get whatever I want, and consequences be damned. That is a quality that I admire, and I wish the left would have more of. Because in politics, it's not enough to simply have power. Democrats have power. They control an entire branch of an entire House of Congress. No legislation can get passed without the Democrats in the approval in the House. So they have power, but that's not the only thing that matters in politics. You have to be able to exercise that power. And the Republicans, they show they will do it. And I wish the left and I wish the Democrats were more like that. Now, here in the case of Ruth Bader Ginsburg, it was everybody's trying to hypocrisy burn Mitch McConnell and trying to shame him and use quotes from other Republican senators from back in 2016 when they said, oh, back when Antonin Scalia died, I can't even remember. It was early in 2016 Scalia died, maybe February, maybe March. And the Republicans, they set the precedent that we will let this seat stay open for almost an entire year because we don't believe the president is allowed to pick Supreme Court justices in an election year. Everybody knew that was bullshit. Everybody knew it was just a power play, and they were just being what the Republicans do best, being obstructionists and just holding up government until they get what they want. Like I said, that's that by hook or by crook quality of the Republican Party. And we all knew what it was, naked power play. But like I said, now everybody's trying to flip the script and try to use all the quotes and the things that they said and the excuses they gave for blocking Merrick Garland, Obama's pick back in 2016. Now everybody's trying to flip that on them and hypocrisy burn the Republicans as if they have any shame. As if you present them with their own quotes on this very same issue and they're going to turn around and say, fuck, you know what? I was going to ram through this Supreme Court justice that our donors are hounding us to do because whoever we pick will serve their interests. But you know what? Now that you point out all the things that I said back in 2016 and you're making me look like a hypocrite, you know what? I don't think I could do it anymore. They don't give a fuck. They don't care. It wasn't even a whole day before Mitch McConnell and the White House and all the other Republicans came out and said, yeah, whatever I said in 2016, I don't care anymore. That doesn't count. We have an election in less than 2 months. Oh, well, who cares? We're still going to ram through the Supreme Court justice. Even if we don't have time to have some proper vetting and proper confirmation hearings, we're going to ram through this justice and nobody's going to stop us. And like I said, as soon as the news came out, Republicans, like a bat out of hell, they pedal to the metal and they're saying we're going to have a nominee by next week. Well, which is technically this week. And it is so funny because there are some people, some normie Democrats, some shit libs, who really, really think that the Democrats, they're going to put up some type of opposition and stop this from happening. And I knew, oh boy, I knew from the moment the news came out that Ruth Bader Ginsburg died, I was like, okay, so 100% Donald Trump is going to get another pick on the Supreme Court. They're going to ram through this pick and nobody's going to stop them. And that's just what it is. They're going to get this. There will be a new Supreme Court justice before the election. I knew that for a fact. And it's just because, look at the opposition. Look at the Democrats. Look at Chuck Schumer in the Senate. When have they ever took on the Republicans and won? Name me one time. They are paid opposition. This is professional wrestling. And besides that, just the way that the Democrats go about politics, and like I said, the way that they use their power, they never effectively send them to the Republicans. So it was written in stone that Mitch McConnell and Donald Trump were going to get another Supreme Court justice. And it was just so funny to me seeing all these Democrats like, oh yeah, we're going to block Mitch McConnell. We're going to do everything in our power. And the Democrats in the Senate, oh, they're going to block them. And this is going to be a huge issue for the election. And we're not going to stop till Joe Biden seats the next Supreme Court justice. I was like, okay, good luck with that. And in short order, the Democrats come out and show their true colors. They show their hand. And the top Democrats, Democratic leadership, already waving the white flag. Less than 24 hours. You have Chuck Schumer pretending like he a big old tough guy. And he was talking he had a conference call with some of the Senate Democrats, and they were talking about how they're going to retaliate if Donald Trump seats another Supreme Court justice. So they weren't even strategizing of all the levers that they can pull and the tricks they have up their sleeve to stop this process. No, that's not what they were doing at all. They were talking about, okay, how can we lose and lose the best that we possibly can? That's what they're doing. Okay, what's the retaliation? And there was just all this tough talk about, oh yeah, we hope that Joe Biden wins, and if Joe Biden wins, we're praying that maybe the Democrats also get the control of the Senate. And if all those things, if the stars align in that way, then maybe we'll consider adding more seats to the Supreme Court. And maybe we'll consider getting rid of the filibuster. All these if, ands, and maybes, and if the stars align, and if this and that, that's the Democrats saying, if you follow politics close enough and long enough, you know that's coded language for we're not going to do anything. We're not going to do anything. And they just throw in all the other stuff to make it look like they're not the biggest of fucking cowards you can think of. So, yeah, we see that it was like, okay, yeah, Chuck Schumer's not going to do anything to stop it. Nancy Pelosi's controlling the House, but she still has some leverage, particularly when it comes to the negotiations for government spending bills. There's a potential government shutdown looming, and they have to yet again agree on another short-term spending bill to keep the government funded and keep it open. And so Nancy Pelosi has leverage there. She could say, hey man, if they seat this justice, don't come to me asking for no spending bills because we're going to hold this shit up until after the election. They could say that. Even if they don't mean it, they could just throw down the gauntlet and be like, that's my line in the sand, and go ahead and try and be, let's play chicken. They could do that. Nancy Pelosi comes out and says, yeah, we're not going to do that. We're going to take that off. The one and only most effective negotiated tool that they have off the table. And in the end, she tries to act like, oh no, we're going to really fight these Republicans and whatever. And we have to hope we win the election and all that stuff. Again, the Democrats, they're going to let this happen. So all these normie Democrats, these shit libs on Twitter, on Facebook, on social media, thinking that there's going to be any opposition to this, you are in for a rude awakening. Because the Democrats are going to do what I know the Democrats do best. They're going to lay down in a chalk outline of themselves on the ground and get fucking rolled by the Republicans and turn around and act like, oh, golly gee, what could we have done? Like they always do. Like anytime there's some sort of power struggle in government, the Democrats take the L. And the one and only time you could make the argument that the Democrats came out on top of Republicans. The only example I can think of is when they managed to pass the Affordable Care Act back in 2009 without a single Republican vote. And that's really a shitty example because the Affordable Care Act was literally Republican policy. It was crafted by Republican think tanks. It was executed by Mitt Romney when he was governor of Massachusetts. This individual mandate system mandating everybody go buy private insurance. That is literally the Republican solution to healthcare in this country. And that was the one and only time that the Democrats passed something with the objection of the Republicans. Was when they passed their own Republican policy. And they had a supermajority in the Senate, had a supermajority in the House. One and only time in my lifetime when there's even an argument to be made that the Democrats came out on top of Republicans in any kind of power struggle. So this was a foregone conclusion. As soon as Ruth Bader Ginsburg died, okay, so the Republicans just got another Supreme Court justice. And that's just what it is. That's just what it is. So it seems like the play for the Democrats is try to cynically make this a campaign issue, try to gin up the normie Democrats, the shit libs, and get them all riled up and like, oh yeah, you got to go to the polls, Supreme Court and all that. But really, they're just going to let the Republicans fill the vacancy and like I said, not do anything to stop it. As important as they claim this seat is and fighting the Republicans and making sure they don't get a majority on the court, they aren't going to do anything to stop it. They're just going to use this to as another scare tactic to get people out to vote. And when they get into power, they will not expand the Supreme Court. Come on. They're going to sit back and they're going to take it, and we'll have a conservative majority in the Supreme Court like we've had my entire life. And that's just going to be the end of the discussion.